We might not have old rundown houses or shacks that are converted into brand activations, but we have boats and we have parks and we have so many different opportunities for organizations and brands to profile themselves during South by in interesting different ways. When you're putting together an event like South by Southwest, I go back to what I said before about understanding what it means to different people and what industry they're from. What does success look like for them and what are their goals for the event? Right from the beginning, how I've approached this and how our team has approached this, and TEG, who is producing the event in Australia, we are building the stage. It's up to our creative communities to perform. We're providing the platform. We're bringing everyone to Sydney. You're only limited by your imagination of what you can do or achieve.
Welcome to Analyze Asia, the premier podcast dedicated to dissecting the pulse of business, technology, and media in Asia. I'm Bernard Leong, and everyone knows about the famous South by Southwest conference in Texas every year. Whether you are a technologist, musician, or anyone involved in culture, you'll be attending that conference. And this year, we will have the landmark event coming to Sydney. But the question is, how did this event find its way into Sydney? With me today, Colin Daniels, the managing director and the man who brought South by Southwest Sydney to tell us the backstory and what will be the upcoming highlights for the event. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard. It's great to be on the show. Thank you very much.
Yes, this is really a very big event this year. So I always start off with talking to our first-time guests on the show, and we want to know your origin story. And I know you have a pretty interesting one. So how did you start your career?
I have been in and around the creative industries since I was 17 years old. I started as a DJ in Melbourne nightclubs, and then I moved into record companies and starting a record label. I was a talent scout for many years. Then I moved into, we started a music distribution business and a couple of music festivals and an agency and concert touring promotion. So over the years, I've worked across Asia, I've worked in Europe, and I've worked in America as well, various times.
And how did you actually stumble upon working, say, into conferences like South by Southwest? Is it that you went to one and found it really interesting, and then that's how you eventually brought it here?
I've been to South by Southwest 19 times.
Wow.
The first time I went to South by Southwest was 1997. Wow. It's changed a lot since then. The South by Southwest is 36, I think, years old. When it first started, I think it was about 700 attendees. Last year, I think there was more than 300,000 people across the footprint. It's the world's largest creative industries conference and event. And what's special about it is its convergence of bringing together all the different types of creative content communities. And that's what right at the beginning got me, is that when you attend South by Southwest, you're not just going to see a band. You can see a film, you can go to a panel on AI or quantum, or you can see some gaming in Austin, you can see some comedy. And most importantly, it's about connection. The majority of attendees at South by Southwest mark networking as the number one reason they attend. And that's what makes South by Southwest so great as well. It's all the parties and the networking events. You kind of wake up and you might go to the Spotify taco breakfast, followed by another brand's morning session, followed by a lunch at a venue with music playing, and then you might see a film, and then you might go to an awards party for the gaming industry, or there's just so much to see and do. And that's what's always been my attraction about South by Southwest, and just how different it is to any other conference or event anywhere in the world.
Before I get much more deeper into the conference event, because you have a pretty interesting career. You started off doing DJing, and then you run an agency, and now build, and then after doing events across Asia Pacific. What are the interesting lessons you can share with my audience about your career journey?
Two things that have always resonated with me. I'm not a musician. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a programmer. I've always come from the position that I serve the art does not serve me. We've always been, I feel that I'm not the artist. My job has always been to be behind the scenes and help creatives achieve their goals. And that's what South by Southwest's vision is, to help creative people achieve their goals. And that's what resonates with me, is I've spent a career helping creative people achieve their goals. The second point would be that in creative industries, it's not like a traditional industry where you can kind of stack boxes to kind of say who fits where within an organization. In creative industries, you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle. Everyone has incredible strengths in different areas, and your job is to bring out the best in everyone and to bring out what are their strengths and to set them up to succeed with their strengths.
That's very poignant advice. Given that I have also a part-time interest, or maybe even as a theater producer myself, I totally agree with you that about the facilitation, working behind the scenes. But I will come to the main subject of the day. We talk about the South by Southwest Sydney event and how to actually build a great conference event. We talk about what the original South by Southwest event in Texas, but I want you to share with me what is the origin story of how the idea of even thinking about bringing the conference to Sydney first took shape, and how do you make it happen?
It was a combination of many people and ideas, and particularly the New South Wales government and Steve Cox and Destination New South Wales. The government at the time, Minister Ayres at the time. We also had Thea Cochran up in the Gold Coast, who did a fantastic job initially of working with the South by Southwest team. But South by Southwest is such a big event, and it is such a well-known brand that they felt that there needed to be a second event 6 months apart, focusing on the Asia Pacific region. And that's important because it's in Sydney, but it's South by Southwest Asia Pacific. This event is about bringing the world to meet the creative industries of Asia Pacific, and bringing our creative industries from the Asia Pacific to Sydney to meet the world.
So what kind of challenges did you encounter thinking about the planning, like convincing the organizers to come to do this, and also some initial things that you all have to overcome in order to bring it alive? I'm sure there is very great support from the Australian government or from the government of New South Wales to actually help in bringing it there, but maybe other interesting challenges that you encounter along the way.
So two particular challenges. One, everyone sees South by Southwest through a different lens, because it's effectively a festival of festivals. You have the film or the screen festival, as we're calling it. You have interactive, which we call the Tech and Innovation Festival. You have the expo. You have the conference with not only its industry themes, but also its cultural themes, from climate to sport to entertainment. Then you have a lot of activations and networking events. So everyone sees it from a different point of view. And an executive from the film industry might come in and see films and attend screening parties and launches and meetings, etc. And it's a different experience for a young talent scout from the music industry that might come just to see 20 bands a day for 5 days, which again is a different experience from a tech startup that might be going to attend South by Southwest pitch and try to find some funding. And so everyone has different goals and everyone has a different reason for attending South by Southwest. But what connects everyone is community, discovery, and a sense of fun. So when you're putting together an event like South by Southwest, you have to think about everyone that would attend and what does success look like for them. You know, whether you're a CEO of an advertising agency or a programmer at a tech company or a professional gamer, what does the week look like for you? And it's for everyone.
So I think one interesting thing is that the conference original roots is in Austin, Texas. What unique adaptations have been made for this version in Sydney to make it relevant for the Asia Pacific region?
Great question. When I first started on the role, there weren't too many of us because it was a very big secret. And there were many times that we were walking around Sydney thinking, how do we replicate Austin? And of course, we don't. We replicate South by Southwest. We replicate what is South by Southwest about. It's about discovery, it's about connection, and it's about growth, both business growth and personal growth. That we can replicate. Then what is it that Sydney has as well? Sydney is a very multicultural city. It's a creative city. It's got an incredible amount of tech unicorns as well as emerging startups. We have some of the best universities in the world. And it is a friendly, relaxed city with a sense of purpose. So it is in some ways different to Austin, geographically, obviously, but in some ways it has a connection with Austin as well.
One interesting thing is that the Asia Pacific is actually made out of a lot of varying cultures, different languages as such. And in the US, it's pretty uniform in terms of language. And actually that also makes it very unique because there's a very diverse audience. There are two questions I have in here. One is that how do you think the cultural context from the Asia Pacific, say, for example, we can think of different film industries, say, Hong Kong film industry, Chinese film industry, or maybe even Thai film industry, or maybe even someone who's a DJ, may say Manila, or tech startup in Indonesia. How do you think about these themes and focus areas from the South by Southwest Sydney? And also, how do you ensure that the conference content remains relevant and engaging for everyone?
More and more, culture transgresses geography now. My children read anime. I watch Korean television shows. My nieces are obsessed with K-pop and J-pop. We are in a world where you look at Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney and the amount of shows that will sell out at that 15,000 capacity arena, and not just the huge K-pop names, but also music from India or other countries. That's the diversity of Sydney and also the openness globally with the younger generations around interesting culture and interesting creative culture. So in the top 5 countries in the world outside of the US that attend South by Southwest, Korea and Japan are both in the top 5.
Oh.
So there's already a strong alliance with the event across the Asia Pacific region.
I'm quite curious. There are so many different strands for the conference itself. Can you walk us through, say, the process of putting a conference like South by Southwest? What are the considerations do you prioritize? Like, for example, there's the conference event, then there is the expo event, and then there are all these much more deep dive networking events, and also maybe sometimes can be cultural events as well. How do you, as an organizer, think about what is the most important thing to me? You talk about, instead of replicating what Texas is, give it the Sydney way of presenting South by Southwest earlier.
Correct. We might not have old rundown houses or shacks that are converted into brand activations, but we have boats and we have parks and we have so many different opportunities for organizations and brands to profile themselves during South by in interesting different ways. When you're putting together an event like South by Southwest, I go back to what I said before about understanding what it means to different people and what industry they're from, what does success look like for them, and what are their goals for the event. Right from the beginning, how I've approached this and how our team has approached this, and TEG, which is our who is producing the event in Australia, is we are building the stage. It's up to our creative communities to perform. We're providing the platform. We're bringing everyone to Sydney. You're only limited by your imagination of what you can do or achieve.
I'm just curious, because it's the first time it's happening in Sydney, right? And then you're building the stage, and then you do not know who is coming, but because there will be a lot of people coming, right? I think the question that I have is a little bit much more like, is there like some anxiety, like, oh, what will turn out, or is it maybe, okay, let's just let the culture flow and allow the people to express themselves and see how it evolves, and that will also carry it forward for the next many years to come?
It's a bit of both. Firstly, you have the expectation around what the event is, and you need to capture the discovery, the networking, the growth. You need to have what is very important part of what South by Southwest is the audience. Now, traditionally in events, the audience is, the event is always about the talent that's on the stage. But at South by Southwest, the participants are the talent. That's what makes the event so special. Some of the best learnings, some of the most amazing experiences I've had in 19 South by Southwests have been with the participants, not the talent on stage.
That's probably true. I think also a lot of tech companies actually use the South by Southwest to launch. There was a period of time that every launch from South by Southwest decides which is the next big tech company. I am very curious. For all my life, I've been to every part of Australia except Sydney. Wow. So I know that Sydney is known for its vibrant and tech community. In fact, my wife likes Sydney and actually has been urging me to show up and just go and take a walk around there. So how do you think hosting South by Southwest in Sydney for the next decade will impact the city and also its communities there?
It will impact not just Sydney, but it will make an impact on all of Australia and the greater Asia Pacific region. This is our opportunity to host a Pan-Asia event that showcases the thought leadership, the innovation, and the creativity across the whole region.
And of course, moving to this year's event, which is coming for the first time, can you share some highlights of the program for this upcoming South by Southwest Sydney, which happens to be in October?
Absolutely. So South by Southwest is a festival of festivals. So you have the conference, you have the Tech and Innovation Expo, you have the Gaming Festival, the Music Festival, the Screen Festival. You have other parts to it like the XR exhibition. You have all the networking parties. You have some incredible brand activations, and there's public stages. There's more than 1,000 different sessions and events across 7 days and nights. The highlights for me, firstly, will be the Tech and Innovation Expo. I'm a bit of a tech nerd, and I've never been to CES Vegas, or China Joy or some of the other bigger events. But every year I visit the Tech and Innovation Expo at South by Southwest, and I just love seeing it's like having a glimpse into the future. This year they had the kind of drone helicopters that you can ride in now, and there's always something new. And South by Southwest, Twitter had its coming out party at South by Southwest. So did Uber, Pinterest. Many, many companies and products have launched at South by Southwest. So for me, the Tech and Innovation, and I can't share too much about what's going in it because it's a big surprise, but I'm really excited about some of the unique and products and kind of a glimpse into the future of what you'll see in the Innovation Expo.
But how about the cultural side then? Yeah.
Next for me is the conference. We're assembling more than 700 speakers across 300 to 400 panels and sessions. This is a very, very diverse, globally put on group of thought leaders and innovators, and you take the diversity around it. You've got Rohit, what he's doing, talking about non-obvious trends, has always been one of my favorite sessions at South by Southwest, and he's of Indian heritage, and he always gives a unique view. You've got Amy Webb. Amy was named by Forbes as one of 5 women changing the world. Amy always gives the most incredible presentation, showing mostly optimistic and just a sneak peek at the pessimistic view of sometimes of where technology is going and how it affects you personally. We have Paul Tillett in conversation with Michael Harrison from AEG. Paul Tillett is the CEO and co-founder of Coachella. And Coachella is probably one of the world's best known music festivals. And so that's going to be a very interesting deep dive into Paul's career as well, which is incredible career, not just with Coachella, but other events that he's put on, and also as a concert promoter in the US. So I'm very excited to hear what Paul's got to say as well. We have Minister Pak Sandiaga Uno, the Minister of Creativity and Tourism from Indonesia, coming in. Minister Pak Sandi is also a successful investor in business and technology and innovation himself. And like many, there is a huge innovation and tech scene growing in Indonesia. And I'm very, very excited to hear what Pak Sandi's got to say as well. Oh, I could go on forever, Bernard. Honestly, it's been like playing a game of fantasy football for a year, and Fenella and the conference team have done an incredible job of just shaping what the conference will look like.
What would be your advice to attendees to make the most out of their South by Southwest Sydney experience then?
Choose your own adventure. That's what Andrew Watt, who's works with us and is also the Australian rep for South by Southwest in Austin. And he always uses the phrase, choose your own adventure, because that's what it is. And mix it up. My advice is mix it up. You've got a spare moment, pop into a panel that you might not have chosen otherwise.
Yeah.
Walk to a venue and see a band, see a film, go to a short films presentation, walk around the incredible activations that will be around the footprint, explore the different houses, get to know people, attend the networking events, attend the meetups and happy hours. And most importantly, make connections and have fun, because that's what happens at South by.
So I know you have been doing a lot of events going across the region. I want to know this. What is the one thing you know about building a great conference event that very few event organizers know about?
I'm not sure it's unique, but the philosophy that our team and TEG as well, our focus is on the participant, is that the audience is also the talent. And that's very important. And the event needs to be done in an authentic way. It's a living, breathing thing that is about discovery, but the magic happens when you have the convergence of all these different industries. And it's unexpected magic sometimes. So really, for us, it's have a great city, which we have, build a great team to put this together, which we've done, get participation from the industries, which we're extremely overwhelmed and so happy with, and have the right audience that understands that this is about creativity and fun and a sense of adventure and growth, and it's a futuristic look at what's next. And there are some challenging conversations as well, and that's what the event is meant to do. So what do I know that others don't? Well, I don't think if I know things that other people don't know, I'm probably not doing my job, or I'm a bit arrogant. So I think more importantly, it's about what do we think is right for South by Southwest. And for me, is the event has to have a heartbeat.
And given the scale and influence, how do you also ensure that the conference remains inclusive and also accessible for all who wants to participate? Because every participant, as you rightfully point out, is a talent who's coming into this cultural festival of festivals to learn and discover and maybe interact with.
Accessibility is very, very important with South by Southwest. There should be an entry point at every level. And that's why we don't just have the conference badges. There are so many opportunities to participate in South by Southwest. That's why we have the public application process for the panels and sessions. We had 1,700 applications and more than 100,000 votes. We had more than 2,500 artists apply to play. We have the volunteer program opening shortly, so you can volunteer to work on the event. Speakers, volunteers, artists, people screening, everyone gets a badge to access the event. When it comes to accessibility, we're working with Dylan Alcott's company. We want to be the gold standard for accessibility for South by Southwest to be an event, because it is a technology event as well. It is an event about the future. And we want to show that we want to lead around accessibility as well. We have also engaged with many communities, including the First Nations communities, mental health communities, ensuring that our event caters, and not just caters for, but inspires everyone to attend.
How do you see the South by Southwest Sydney evolving in the future? And how would it be continue to stay relevant in an increasing digital and global world? I'm sure this year, generative AI will be one of the biggest questions that's going to come out on the panels. We have actors and writers strikes already happening in the US. And I think this is something creators, even I myself, is thinking about.
I think the pandemic showed how much we all miss connection. Sitting behind a screen all the time does not give you true connection. And that's what events do. You look out, connection is recession proof. And it's also, it actually moves forward with technology. South by Southwest is 36 years old. It's gone through and seen everything from Napster to different ups and downs in industries, from moving from physical products to streaming, moving from the only way you could see a band was to see them live to now that you can also have various ways of accessing their content. So over those 36 years, there is always disruption, innovation, and that's what moves creative industries forward. And what South by Southwest is, if you've got that next innovation or that next disrupting technology, it's even more reason to come because you want to show it to everyone.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point of a connection. Nothing beats face-to-face, just having that interaction, talking to people. I'm going to have my traditional closing question. What does great look like to you for a successful South by Southwest conference in Sydney?
Seeing you and every other creative industries professional and person from our communities have a big smile and say that was the best week I've had all year.
Wow. And also coming back next year, right?
and to come back next year.
Colin, many thanks for coming on the show and thank you for sharing how this event is brought together. And obviously, like everyone else, just as a participant and also a content creator, I would be happy to see Sydney for the first time and also enjoy this South by Southwest event. So in closing, I have two questions. My first is, any recommendations which have inspired your life?
Many at different times. Books, music. Music has probably been one of my biggest inspirations, but I'm reading at the moment Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And I'm very, very excited. He is an absolute inspiration. And I'm very, very thrilled and excited actually and to dig into reading it over the weekend. What inspires me the most is seeing creatives succeed.
That's really interesting. You started with a conversation of how you started in the creative industry and being behind the stage and helping creatives to succeed.
Yes. And seeing creatives succeed inspires me.
How can my audience find you? And please let everyone know how to get to South by Southwest Sydney.
Head to southbysouthwestsydney.com, sign up, browse the websites and the socials and see what we've got going on, because what you will find across everything is so many things that will appeal to you, but also some things that you're like, wow, that's worth checking out anyway. It's an incredible event. We're very excited that it's coming to Sydney and to the APAC region. An event like this is long overdue in our region. We have incredible creative and tech industries. There's so much innovation across the Asia Pacific region, and this is the perfect platform to tell the world.
And you can definitely find this podcast through every channel out there, our YouTube channel and all the podcast platforms, and of course subscribe to our newsletter. And I will definitely tell you what I will have in stock when I show up in Sydney. But Colin, many thanks for coming on the show, and I really learned a lot from listening, talking to you, and I look forward to see you in Sydney.
Thanks very much. I really, really enjoyed chatting.